Resuming debate, will please say that the honourable member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak on our Conservative motion calling on this Liberal government to get taxpayers their money back in the face of the latest chapter in the Arrive Can, better known as Arrive Scam saga. Arrive Scam is emblematic of widespread corruption, mismanagement, abuse, and incompetence that defines 10 years of these Liberals. Arrive Scam involves an app that didn't work. It was supposed to cost $80,000. It turns out it cost taxpayers $60 million, 750 times greater than the initial projected cost, all again for an app that didn't work. There is well-documented evidence that throughout the development of the app, there was widespread misconduct and mismanagement across multiple government departments and agencies. For example, the Auditor General found that there was a glaring disregard for basic management and contracting practices. So bad were things that the Auditor General indicated that she had never seen poorer record-keeping in all of her years undertaking audits. And as bad as that is, arguably what's worse is what the Procurement Ombudsman found, when he found that 76% of Arrive Scam contractors involved contractors that did no work. 76% of contracts and no work, but yet money went out the door. And at the center of Arrive Scam is the now infamous firm GC Strategies, the largest contractor. GC Strategies is a two-person basement firm that did no work, that offered no services, that has no expertise, and yet walked away like bandits with $20 million taxpayer dollars. The only thing that GC Strategies is capable of is bidding for government contracts, getting contracts from this government, and then fleecing the taxpayer with 15 and 30% commissions and then subcontracting out the work. Now, this is a firm that is under RCMP investigation as we speak for fraud in relation to contracts with the Government of Canada. And as alarming and as outrageous as it is that GC Strategies walked away with $20 million taxpayer dollars in Arrive Scam, we learned on Tuesday that it only scratches the surface. It only scratches the surface because on Tuesday, the Auditor General issued another report, another audit, with respect to contracts involving GC Strategies and the Government of Canada. And what the Auditor General found was that GC Strategies received millions more taxpayer dollars for no work. Now let's look at some of the particulars of the findings of the Auditor General. The Auditor General went back to 2015, basically when this government came to office. That's when GC Strategies started getting contracts, and there were 106 in total, the value of which was $94.7 million, $64.5 million was ultimately paid out. The Auditor General put aside the 4 Arrive Scam contracts because they had already been audited, so she looked at the 102 remaining contracts. She took a sample of 35 of those contracts across 21 federal departments and federal organizations. And what she found was that of the 35 sampled contracts, non-Arrive Scam contracts, 46% involved contracts in which there was no proof of work. Her findings in respect to these contracts was, quote, that there was little to no evidence that deliverables were received. So there you have a Arrive Scam 2.0. No controls, no oversight, and millions upon millions of hard-earned taxpayer dollars improperly going out the door under the watch of these Liberals. And they have the audacity today to stand in this place and wash their hands clean of any responsibility. It is an absolute disgrace. And there's no doubt that that is the most damning aspect of the Auditor General's findings. I mean, what could be worse than getting paid and doing no work to the tune of millions of dollars? But I do want to note that there were other damning findings in that report. One example was the total absence or near total absence of oversight when it comes to seeing value for money with respect to at least non-competitive contracts, of which millions went out the door to GC Strategies based upon the sample. In respect of those non-competitive contracts, the Auditor General found that in 95% of the cases, government departments couldn't establish evidence of value for money. In fully 82% of those contracts, departments could not provide any evidence that fees charged did not exceed market rates. In 13% of those contracts, there was evidence, but guess what the evidence was? It was an attestation from the supplier, from GC Strategies. So there you have GC Strategies getting paid millions of dollars, being awarded contracts, and when it comes to value for money, government departments took GC Strategies at their word that they were providing services at or below market rates. You can't make this stuff up, but it's par for the course after 10 years of these Liberals overseeing procurement and government contracting. And then there was the finding of the Auditor General that in 33% of the contracts, departments could not demonstrate that contract resources had experience or qualifications to complete the work. But I guess it's not a surprise, given that everything involving GC Strategies involves no work. $20 million for Arrive Scam, millions more on the non-Arrive Scam contracts. And it would be comforting if one were to say, well, as bad as this is, it's an isolated incident. But of course, that's not the case. After all, this is an audit involving 35 contracts across 21 departments and federal organizations, so it cannot be said that it was one department or a handful of rogue bureaucrats. We've also seen other instances of this type of abuse involving other contractors under this government's watch, such as McKinsey. But putting that aside, don't take my word for it in terms of the degree to which this is a systematic problem. Take the words of the Auditor General, who said in the media, quote, "I have no reason to believe that the lack of following the rules is linked to a specific vendor. This is really about the public service, really about a systematic problem within this government after 10 years. It's a damning indictment by the Auditor General. So, in the face of that, now that we have the Auditor General's report, now that we have learned of the extent of the abuse of taxpayer dollars, taxpayers deserve their money back, and they deserve their money back now. And it is why we have put forward this motion, so that this House can order this government to immediately commence proceedings to do just that, to get taxpayers their money back, and to make taxpayers whole again in the face of this outrageous abuse, this outrageous corruption, all under this government's watch.
Well said.